All right, let's answer your question and give you some good news.
Yeah, I was afraid you were going to say that.
I'm on her side, and I don't know exactly what her side is.
I think you're totally spot on with that.
I sound inept just to help you out.
It's been a rough week, thanks to your advice.
Are you a regular listener to this program?
As much as I can be.
There's your problem.
I would not ever disagree with you because you're so smart. You have a lot of answers to a lot of things.
You don't want to listen to me on the radio.
So what do I do?
I can't give you any direction.
Thank you for empowering me. I needed that.
I'm losing you, buddy. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Well, do you know somebody who does?
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
The only program in all of EWTN's Catholic Network with the broadcast delay set for the host. Broadcast delay is usually set for the caller. 7 seconds or so is common, which is somebody says something inappropriate. It doesn't go out over the air. There's 7 seconds delay. So what they think they're saying isn't going out over the air until 7 seconds later. Now, I hear it immediately as they say it, but the whole thing doesn't go out. So I asked EWTN, what is my broadcast delay? How long is it? 10 seconds? 12 seconds? They said, Ray, it's 56 minutes. 56 minutes? That's the whole show. That's the whole show. Yes. Your point? So I do have to talk to him. So right now, I don't even know if this is going to come out over the air. They just control my broadcast delay. Delighted to have you here. This is a variant of the Doctor's In. This is Look Back Friday. Some calls up there that we've had in previous programs that I will comment more upon for various reasons, either because there was a term used that I didn't get a chance to explain, or the call took a direction that there were other directions that we could have explored, and I didn't. Obviously, radio is a very limited environment. It's educational. It's not therapy. So because of that, these calls were selected for various reasons, and that becomes apparent as soon as the call is broadcast a second time. There was something called the Silver Rule. The Silver Rule was some of the rabbis, and perhaps some ancient philosophers and people of intellect. And the Silver Rule essentially said, don't do to others what you wouldn't have them do to you. In other words, it was a negative. Don't harm me. I won't harm you. So it's reciprocal. Well, Jesus, of course, took that rule and he made it golden. He said, do to others what you would have them do to you. In other words, do good to others. If you have them do that to you, you do good to them. Now, unfortunately, there seems to be a rider that many of us are tempted to put upon the golden rule, and that rider is this. If I do good to you, then you should do good to me. So put them together. Do to others as you would have them do unto you, followed by, if I do good to you, if I treat you right, if I'm nice to you, if I'm kind to you, if I'm respectful to you, all those things, then you will do so to me. The rider oftentimes fails. Why? Because if you're operating out of a moral system that says you treat people right, you treat them fairly, with respect, you honor who is to be honored, and you do good where you can do good. Now that is your moral system, and in all likelihood, that is your system because you are a follower of Christ. But to then expect that because you do that, they will reciprocate They will treat you as you treat them. Will lead to a lot of frustration, perhaps resentment and ill will. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't they? The question is not should they. You can answer yes. Yes, they should. But the question is, will they? If they don't operate out of the same moral system, the same motives, then they're not necessarily going to treat you as you treat them. You're doing what you think is good. You're not doing it because you think you're going to get back. If you're kind to a person who is really not kind back, I mean, they're just difficult, they're unpleasant, and you're trying to be civil, trying to be pleasant, trying to be respectful, that's you. That is you. But to say, I treat you well, that means you treat me well, doesn't follow. Doesn't follow at all. They may not be motivated by the same thing. They may not think the same way. They may not be moved in any way toward you as you are moved toward them. It's just the way it is. The problem with thinking along those lines is that you should treat me as I treat you, is you'll get frustrated. You'll get very frustrated. Especially somebody close in your life that you really try hard to treat well, and you're not getting the same kind of treatment consistently anyway in return. Not happening. And when you get hurt, when you get frustrated, you get angry, get resentful, you're thinking, I'm not getting my due here. What good is it for me to act that way toward them? They're not acting that way toward me. Yeah, that's how the world operates. That's not how Christ operates. Well, this Christ thing's kind of hard, ain't it? In one sense, it is. In another sense, it's the best way to do it. Because you can at least rest in knowing you're doing what is right and good. You have that comfort. You don't have to look at yourself and say, well, I was just as much a jerk as they were. That's one. Another is, if you say you're a follower of Christ, then you can take some satisfaction in knowing that as best you could with his help, you treated them at least without ill will. I mean, you don't have to be gushy and syrupy to somebody that's difficult, but you don't have to treat them like they treat you either. That's the way the world does it. You're going to insult me, I'm going to insult you back. Make a snarky remark toward me, I'm going to snark remark back at you. There, you're not going to get away with it. You realize the strength it takes to be able to do that emotionally, morally, to not fight back when you feel justified in fighting back. I didn't start it. No, you didn't. But the fact that you treated them a certain way doesn't guarantee they'll treat you the same. And to expect that is to ask for upset. It's to ask for a corroded relationship. Oh, maybe it should be corroded. Maybe I shouldn't be around them. Well, that may be, but what if it's your mom, your brother, your spouse? Then what? Your boss? Well, I don't have to put up with that. Maybe at some level you do, because the stakes are much higher. The golden rule says, do to others what you would have them do to you. In other words, do good to others because you would want them to do good to you. It does not add, if you do good to others, they will do good to you. Dr. Ray.
Tell your doctor about all your medical conditions, including immune system problems, or if you've had an organ transplant or lung, breathing, or liver problems.
The doctor will be with you in just a moment.
This Ave Maria program brought to you in part by the following nonprofit.
One of the greatest threats to your family isn't a disaster or a virus, but addiction. In nearly every family and every pew, someone is silently struggling. Beginning July 11th, Shalom World TV and the I Thirst Initiative present Unshackled, a powerful new series on the Catholic Church's response to the addiction crisis, bringing together leading voices to discuss real healing. Stream it free at shalomworld.org or on the Shalom World app today.
Another year has come and gone, and whether you like it or not, Uncle Sam requires you to make an accounting. Perhaps it's time to call Myler and Zipka. They work with you to legally minimize your tax bill and identify ways to reduce future taxes. Eliminate the nagging feeling that you're paying more taxes than you need to. Call Ken Zipka today at 734-930-5500. Myler and Zipka. Integrity, excellent value, and people dedicated to a long-term relationship. 734-930-5500.
Colleen Kelly Mast has Mast Appeal.
Do you need some tips on getting along with your family members? Are you trying to figure out the right thing to do when everyone else is going in different directions? Are you struggling with a personal problem and need help with the next step to take? Join me live each week and call in with your questions or personal problems. Listen to Mast Appeal each Saturday morning, and maybe you can prevent some problems too.
Mast Appeal, Saturday mornings from 9 to 11 on this Ave Maria radio station.
I'm Matthew Handley. Join me on Saturday mornings as we take a look at our community and world from a Catholic perspective on Michigan Mornings Saturday. We'll discuss local news, touch on our weather forecast, feature interviews and original content, plus look at the best segments of the week from Ave Maria Radio. Saturdays at 8 a.m. is Michigan Mornings Saturday on Ave Maria Radio.
Asking the question, if Dr. Ray speaks on the radio and there's no one there to hear it, will your kids still get better? Will your husband pick up his socks? And will your mother-in-law now think and verbalize, you're the best mother she has ever seen? Nice to have you here with me on The Doctor Is In, Monday through Friday, co-production of Ave Maria Radio Communications there in Ann Arbor with my producer man, Andrew Krugchak, and the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network. When I was at the mental health centers or wherever else I worked and consulted, I had a boss. And when I went independent some 30 years ago, I thought, well, no, I don't have a boss now. Little did I know I got a million of them. All over Ave, all over EWTN. Shoot. The one good thing is, I'm still getting my Social Security. Okay, let's go to a call here. Let's see. Christine is calling from Indiana, and this is something that is a phenomenon among parents trying to raise God-seeking kids. And their temperament, the child's temperament, makes them a little overthinking, a little hypersensitive, a little prone to worrying. Let's find out what's going on with Christine's son.
My super competitive baby of 5. He's always been very confident, carefree, just fun kid. He's super smart, does well in school. But I just noticed last spring he started, sounds like scrupulosity. Like he was just remembering things that he did in first grade or third grade and telling me, Mom, I cheated on that spelling test. Mom, I wasn't nice to Johnny, just confessing to me. And we had many long emotional conversations. I was trying to help him through that. And we did the surrender novena together. I would tell him to say, Jesus, I trust in you, and he doesn't want you to worry. And then it kind of went in. I saw anxiety more with school in big tests, or he's a math wizard, so math is not a factor. It's like reading, science, and all those things.
The common theme here is perfection. I want to be perfection in my sinlessness and perfection in my academics.
Yes. And what has just happened recently is a 6th grade science project in which he was one of 5 kids, and he was researching and had to present yesterday. And I mean, we have been talking about the science project for like 2 weeks, and he would just cry about it. He'd worry, and he was doing fine. He just questions himself. And yesterday, Dr. Ray, he gave the presentation, did a good job. I don't know what the grade was, but he is ruminating. So,
Christine, you want some bad news?
Oh, no. Please. I don't know. Help me.
You can't make somebody who frets a certain way, thinks a certain way, change that way easily. You can do things to make it better, perhaps.
Okay.
And you said he was 12.
Yeah.
I've noticed over the years that when adolescence hits, some kids have some personality changes. They go from being a little kid and hormones are coursing through them, and we don't understand all the effects of those hormones. Yeah, we understand the physiological effects, but we really don't understand the whole bodily psyche type effects. So that could be part of it, maybe. I'm not willing to go that far, but throwing it out as a speculation. The other thing is you might be getting too pulled into it. For example, you said you've had long conversations. Yeah. Because he said when he was 2 years old, he pooped his pants and he didn't tell anybody. Okay. You need some good, solid, short, if you want to call them therapy statements, go ahead. You say, son, is Jesus a liar? No. Well, when he says he forgives you when you're sorry, are you saying he doesn't? No, he does, but I don't. Well, are you saying you're more forgiving than Jesus? Is that what you're saying here? In other words, what you want to show him as best you can is that I'm not going to sit here and tell you, okay, that's okay. You're forgiven. You're forgiven. That was a long time ago, son. Jesus. No, because then what you're doing is moms are supposed to try to reassure, and he's looking at it that way, as opposed to saying, well, let's look at this. You're not taking Jesus at his word. What did Jesus say? Well, he says he forgives you. So you don't believe him? Okay, so that's kind of the way you approach it. More of a kind of a matter of fact. This is the way it is, son, without going into an hour and a half. I would do it as a therapist, but I'm getting paid for it, Okay. Now, the anxiety about school. Now, again, this goes back to you may not be able to strip him of his anxiety. I mean, if he's just kind of a fretter sort of kid, then he's going to be anxious about it until maybe he hits 13, 14, 15, and he realizes, yeah, I can still get good grades, and I don't have to worry about it as much. You tell him, you're going to do the project. You're going to be anxious about it. Okay, son, we already know that. You're going to be anxious about it. So let's see, with all your anxiety, how it comes out. Mom, I got a B+. Oh, pretty good. So did you waste all that anxiety? Did you like feeling that way? No. So how many times is it going to take, son, when you perform well, but you were anxious about it for 3 days? How long is that going to take? I don't know. I just feel anxious. I just get anxious. Okay, you get anxious. All right. Now what? Well, I don't want to be anxious. Well, okay. Then what are you telling yourself? Well, what if I fail? Well, have you failed so far? No, but I could. Yes, you could. You could, son. And what if you did? Well, maybe I get a bad grade. Yeah, you probably would. Then what? Well, then they'd make me do it over. Yeah, then what? Well, then probably I'd have to try to bring my grade up. Okay, then what? In other words, what's your take? You're carrying it out for him. Then what? Then what? Then what? Then what? Son, all this stuff that you're future projecting about that's causing your anxiety, what if I don't give a good presentation? Okay, what if you don't? Well, I'll just feel stupid. So you feel stupid, then what? Well, I'll just feel like I can't do it. Well, you did it, so then what? In other words, what you're saying is, look, everything you're telling yourself that's so awful and catastrophic isn't. Because you're carrying it out for him. I think part of it for your son is that he's got to realize this anxiety that I feel, it's not affecting my performance. It's not paralyzing me. So, okay, son, so you're being anxious. At some point, after about 12 of these things, where you were anxious and you did well, you're going to realize, maybe I don't have quite as much reason to be anxious. So there you are, Christine. That's what I can give you in 4 minutes. Well, I lied because I'm giving her another 4 minutes. There's a guy named Albert Ellis. Had Ellis back when I was in grad school. He had a therapy system called rational emotive therapy. He said that we have a bent, a disposition toward thinking irrationally. It's wired into us. Now, Ellis was an atheist, so I don't think he would ever draw a parallel between fallen human nature and his theory. All he knew is that we just had a bent to think irrationally. And he listed about 12 ways that we self-defeat, that we undercut our peace, our goals, whatever it is that we're pursuing. One of those ways he called catastrophizing. We look at some potential future outcome and we make it awful, terrible that it would happen. Now, Christine's son, in his mind, it would be just awful, terrible, catastrophic if, in fact, he didn't get a good grade. He convinced himself of that. Now, his body, now keep in mind, this is how anxiety works. Your body responds to the message that your brain gives it. If your brain tells your body, this is a threat, this is dangerous, this is something that's going to hurt you, and that something is a bad grade or a poor performance on this project. The body doesn't go, no, it's not. No, come on. No. That's not somebody with a gun. That's not a charging rabid dog. That's not an impending car accident. Come on, what are you trying to tell me here? No, the body reacts. The body just does what the brain tells it. So his brain says, this is threatening. He feels anxiety, and then he catastrophizes. Wouldn't it be awful if, in fact, I failed or I did poorly? That's what he's telling himself. Now, what I did with Mom, then what is similar to and then. What you're trying to do is you're trying to drain the catastrophic energy from the feared future event. Would it be so bad if this happened? Well, no. And once you start to convince yourself of that, and it takes practice, you can't snap your fingers and go, okay, I'm better now. Although some people can, by the way. You explain to them what anxiety really is, and it's a revelation. A light goes off. I'm doing this to myself? Yes. Do you mean I don't have to feel this way? No, not at all. Your brain is playing a trick on your body. Really. I'm going to hit a break here, but I want to just give you on the other side of the break, I'll give you a quick example of someone right away quick decided that. But that said, if she can help him through these and then, and don't drag it out. Remember, she said a long, emotional hour-and-a-half talk. We think that we can do this, and we will eventually get the person to look at this differently. But when you go on for an hour and a half, especially if there's multiple hour and a halves, something's not clicking. So I think at this point, for her, the thing is to get him to accept his anxiety. The scrupulosity, that could be related to a kind of an obsessional compulsive sort of bent. And I didn't get a chance to get into that too much. One look back issue at a time. I want to add just a little bit to that look back. I want to look back on that look back. And I said, sometimes when you explain exactly what anxiety is physiologically to someone, in and of itself, just the explanation tempers the anxiety very quickly. Small example. I had a mentor when I worked at the mental health center in Columbiana County. I just started there as an intern. There's a psychologist named John Gard. John had been a very experienced psychotherapist for a long time before I even got there. And he told a story about a guy who was a businessman. This businessman developed a terrible fear of elevators. Elevators are a fear spot for a lot of people. Something about those confined moving boxes with a whole bunch of bodies in them invading your space. He could have probably lived his life avoiding elevators for the most part, except his business took him often to meetings on high up floors in buildings. Now, obviously, he could take 10, 12, 15, 18, 20, 22 flights of steps. Might make it through 5, but probably not 22. So my mentor, John, explained to him what was going on regarding this, that in fact, that his mind was tricking him, his body into thinking there's some kind of danger being on an elevator. And he said, "You mean I'm doing this to myself?" Now, this is kind of a no-nonsense kind of guy. "You mean I'm doing this to myself?" My colleague said, "Yeah, that's about it. You are doing this to yourself. Nobody else is doing it to you." This guy went out, and I don't know if this was before the days of independent elevators, but remember they used to have elevator operators? Those things are long gone. They're gone with the horse and buggy. I don't know if he hired somebody or he found a building that still had an elevator operator with enough floors. And he paid the person to take him up and down and up and down and up and down, even jarring the elevator to a stop between floors. Now, talk about panic, huh? He told the guy, "I don't want to get off. I'm going to get very anxious. I don't want to get off. Understand that." So he did this. I don't know how long it took him. Maybe hour and a half. Until basically his anxiety was spent. Now, he had physiology on his side. That means that those chemicals, the norepinephrine, the adrenaline, those chemicals that orchestrate anxiety in our body deplete. They don't have an unlimited reservoir. So as he was anxious, as he traveled up and down this elevator, it dissipated. It got less and less and less. And he proved to himself that, in fact, he could do this without being anxious. Now, here's a major qualification. He did not fight his anxiety. He did not grit his teeth, clench his fist, and say, I gotta make it through this. This is awful. This is terrible. I gotta make it through this. He didn't do any of that. Didn't do any of that. He kept telling himself, this is just anxiety. This is just anxiety. He floated. That's the good word. There's a researcher in anxiety, and she calls it that. She says you got to float through your anxiety. I'll give you another example because I don't have time to get to another look back. I'll have to save it till after the break. I had a friend who was on a cruise with me. He had a fear of elevators. And you know, these cruise ships, they make the Titanic look like a tugboat. You ever see the picture of a Titanic? Look it up. The Titanic in front of a modern cruise ship with its 15 levels. Huge these things are. And of course, if you're going to go to the top deck, which they put the buffet up there on purpose, I think. That's actually 15 decks, 30 flights of stairs, 2 flights for every deck, 8 steps apiece, something like that. Now, obviously, he was very uncomfortable on an elevator. So I explained to him physiologically what was going on. And I also explained to him, do not get off that elevator. That's the worst thing you can do. If you get on that elevator, don't get off it. Later, he told me, he said, I didn't just endure the anxiety. He said, in my mind, I welcomed it. I invited it. I wanted to experience it to see if anything bad would happen. Of course, nothing did. And many times when people get highly anxious, they think they're going to do something foolish. They're going to be stupid looking. They're going to collapse. They're going to scream. They're going to just make a spectacle of themselves. He said, I didn't do any of that. I go, yeah, that's right. Anxiety can make you feel crazy. It doesn't make you act crazy. That's the difference. He said, I just welcomed it. I absorbed it. So what happened then? He goes, well, it just kind of went away. I said, yeah, because you weren't afraid of it. You didn't panic about being panicked. And so as far as I know, the rest of that trip, he took the elevator wherever he wanted. Now, is that to say he liked when there were 12 people in an 8-person space? Probably not. He didn't like it. Not something that made him feel wonderful. But at the same time, it didn't make him feel so bad that he had to jump off at the very next floor. So that's the key to anxiety. If there's nothing physically wrong, and in most cases there is not, you want to get yourself a good physical exam if you're worried about it. But the key to anxiety, and this is going to sound funny, is to not be frightened by it. If you say to yourself, this is my body's defense mechanism that God wired into me for protection, right? I mean, you want to be anxious when you're in real danger. Absolutely. It makes the body ready to do what it has to do, fight, flight, or hopefully not freeze, but to act. Well, anxiety is misplaced defense. It happens in the wrong place, at the wrong time, with the wrong people. And because people think this is so terrible an experience, this is so ill-feeling, I've got to stop it. And the way they stop it is to leave the scene, which is the worst thing they can do. So all that said, for those of you suffering from anxiety, wherever it is, whether it's a phobia, whether it's social anxiety, whether it is obsessive-compulsive anxiety, like it sounds like little Christine's son had, whether it is panic attacks, the peak of anxiety. If you recognize that, if you can say to yourself, it's an unpleasant experience, an unpleasant sensation, but that's the whole of what it is. And it won't hurt me. It's God's gift to me for dangerous situations, but not this one.
Hi, Dr. Ray. You're still my favorite program on all media.
Thank you for joining me, Dr. Ray Guarendi. This is Look Back Friday. I want to thank my producer man and editor, Andrew Kruchek, who has to listen to me 3 different times. It's enough when we do it live, but then he has to listen to the Look Back call, and then he has to listen to the Look Back call again as we replay it. I just want to say he's getting smarter faster, I think, than he expected. Let's see what we got here. We got Joan from New Hampshire, and this is a constant struggle. People think, what does my Christian obligation compel me to do here? Do I put up with this? And how long do I put up with this? How much of it do I endure for the sake of charity? And in various forms, that question comes in all over the place. And let's find out exactly how this is affecting Joan. I am not going to be an excessive talker with you. I'm simply going to listen.
Dr. Ray, all I can tell you is that we love her, but we just had an episode where she met some strangers at church, and she started telling them about their problems with her children, and that's when I said something's got to be done.
Well, she's probably turning a lot of people off, right?
Everybody.
They see her coming.
Off.
They see her coming. Look out!
That's right. That's right. You got it.
Why do you think she's missing it? Why do you think she's not picking up on people tending to avoid her or cut short these conversations?
Well, that's one of the things we don't understand, and that's why I'm calling you. Why doesn't she?
Well, you want me to understand it. I don't even know her. If you can't understand her.
No. No.
Has she always been that way? Is this just her temperament?
Ever since I've known her, she's been that way. And it really is a big turn off. And, you know, just recently I had to stay away from her because I just couldn't handle it any longer. It is so excessive. If I'm alone with her, I'll say, stop, one story at a time. And she is very descriptive. So when she's telling you a story, she can branch off and pull in 3 other stories so to help you understand that story that she's trying to talk about.
So she's pushing you to your limit.
She's pushing me and everybody else around, too.
It's not so much the talking then, it's the fact that, is it filtered with complaining?
Yes. All complaints.
Oh. Well, you're not going to be able to stop her with other people. You know that, don't you?
No, but you know what I'm looking for is maybe some kind words that I can say to her. Or, you know, what do? Do you just sit down with her and do you just address it and say, okay, we've got a major problem here?
If you're going to do that, and you said some kind words, you can be as very gentle and diplomatic as you could possibly be. That doesn't guarantee she's going to hear you. So just know that. Recognize that you could be risking your friendship if you do that. If you think it's worth it, if you think, well, I'm going to try to somehow get her to see what's happening here because she doesn't see it. Okay. That's the downside of you doing that. A shorter intervention, you kind of touched upon it, Joan. You said one story at a time, one story at a time. What you can do is say, oh, I don't need to hear this. None of my business. And that's your soundbite. 8 sentences later, oh, I don't need to hear this. None of my business. 8 sentences later, I don't need to hear this. None of my business. You're basically trying to put guardrails, but she'll blow through that. You know that. She'll blow right through it and keep going. But at some point, maybe the drip, drip, drip of, I really don't need to hear this. None of my business. Maybe we'll get her to stop. How old is she, Joan?
She's in her late 60s.
Oh, wow.
Late 60s. But Dr. Ray, why does somebody talk like that? Just nonstop. She's a well-educated woman.
There are a lot of people in my life who are nonstop talkers. I've studied it informally as I've sat and listened to them, wondering, what is it that you are just this steady stream of words without taking a breath?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it varies from person to person. I think probably the best explanation is that we're all wired so very differently. And some people just, by their nature, are talkers. Now, in your friend's case, it isn't only the talking, it's the complaining. The talking might not turn people off, but the complaining, the dumping on you of all my sorrows and sadness and tragedies. I talk about that. I wrote a book called How to Get Along with Almost Everybody. And there were 3 conversation killers that I identified, and complaining was one of them. People just don't want to be around a steady diet of somebody else complaining. They just don't. I think your more insightful question, Joan, is how come she doesn't see how she affects other people, right?
Yes.
I know. She may be so caught up in what she has to say that she just doesn't pick up on their cues. Sometimes I listen to the call go through and I think about, because some of these were from some months ago, and I think about, okay, why did I put that in the look back cue? And I realized it was in the first couple of sentences that she said, which is a form of, can't she see? Which means, where's her insight? Self-insight is an incredible virtue. To be able to look at oneself, somewhat objectively anyway, and recognize what it is that is maybe off-putting to someone, or what it is that is, we think that it's certainly not an offensive piece of behavior, but why are they reacting that way? Is it them? Is it them? Is it their hypersensitivity, their prickliness, whatever it might be? Or is there something about me? Sigmund Freud, way back, talked about insight being recognizing what intrapsychic conflicts you had between your three main controllers of your psyche, which is your id, ego, and superego. And he said that, once you had insight, you would cure the conflict, and then you'd be all better. Well, the way we look at insight now, it's far beyond that narrow view that Freud postulated. Insight is the ability to honestly look at yourself. The poet Robert Burns said something to the effect, oh, the gift the gods would give us to see ourselves as others see us. This woman, who is seemingly intelligent in other areas of her life, she might be incredibly competent in some areas, doesn't recognize how this droning that she does, especially droning with complaints and negativity and hyper details, turns people off. She doesn't read the cues. She doesn't read people trying to get away from her. She doesn't read the looks on their faces. She doesn't read them zoning out. She doesn't read them picking up something and leafing through it while she's talking. She doesn't pick it up. And the temptation is, why? How can she be so oblivious? One of the mega thieves I've learned as a psychologist. We humans, we're pretty much capable about anything. And we're pretty much capable of not recognizing that we're capable about everything. I think that for Joan here, as I said during the call, she's got to come up with some ways to extricate herself from this relentless droning. I know she doesn't want to be mean. I know she doesn't want to be rude. She thinks, geez, that's not what a Christian would do. But you're not being rude or mean when you legitimately either point out or extricate yourself from something that is really inappropriate, quite inappropriate. She said that she's very successful. She's an intelligent woman. And so she couldn't put the two together. She couldn't figure out, okay, how can she be like this and be successful? How could she not recognize it? And it doesn't have to be that way. What it could be is that she would be so much more successful if, in fact, she didn't do this. She has a certain skill set that has carried her well in whatever profession she's in, or whatever career she was in, whatever it was, that carried her. But she sabotaged that skill set by this inability to see that she's speaking 200 to 400 words a minute with gusts up to 800 and not recognizing how people are reacting negatively to this. And I doubt that she ever will come to that conclusion. That's why I asked her age. Late 60s. The other thing, too, some people by temperament and by nature are talkative. They just are. I think as I get older, now I have to talk on this program. That is the requirement of the program. But as I get older, I don't know anything about this, but it seems like a lot of talking takes more effort. I'm Dr. Ray.
But I'm a doctor, and it's my tradition to care for the sick and injured.
God has given each of us one life to live, and caring for our health is one way we can honor that gift. At Healthy Lifetime, we help you age with confidence, fulfillment, and the ability to enjoy what matters most. That's why our personalized health coaching for aging adults is built around listening, understanding, and helping achieve your goals. Visit HealthyLifetimeInc.com/Ave Maria to sign up. That's HealthyLifetimeInc.com/Ave Maria.
For 30 years, Ave Maria Radio has been bringing the light of Christ into your homes and cars. To honor this milestone, we want to celebrate the power of God's grace through your voice. Did a program spark a profound conversion in your life, or has a message reaffirmed your faith when you needed it most? Call us at 734-930-5200. That's 734-930-5200. Share your journey and help us celebrate 30 years of proclaiming the gospel.
Marcus Peter hosts Unveiling the Covenants.
What is a covenant? It's a vowed exchange of lives which results in an unbreakable family bond. Throughout Scripture, God seeks to espouse all mankind to himself in an unbreakable covenant bond. His covenantal love is a free gift, but it necessitates a response from us. We are free to accept or reject it. Let's learn what this means as we unveil the covenants.
Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. on Ave Maria Radio.
Brought to you by the nonprofit Seton Home Study.
Hi, everybody. Dr. Ray Guarendi here. You want to pass the Catholic faith on to your children? A very good way is to teach your children at home. You want to protect your kids from the toxic culture that surrounds us? Do you want to have a greater influence than what your kids are learning? Once more, a great way is to teach your children at home. No teacher is going to care about your kids as much as you do. Seton Home Study School is the best way to teach your children at home. Go to setonhome.org. setonhome.org. C.S. Lewis says this: friendship is the greatest of worldly goods. Certainly to me, it is a chief happiness of life. If I had to give a piece of advice to a young man about a place to live, I think I should say, sacrifice almost everything to live where you can be near your friends. I know I'm very fortunate in that respect. As I get older, I more and more value friendships that have lasted. I value past friendships in the sense that I do make efforts to reconnect. Now, again, if it's not reciprocated, I can't go much farther than that. But I find that. I had a chance once. I was working at a local mental health center. And I had a chance from a guy who wanted psychologists, and he wanted psychologists who were speakers. And he had a program. He, I think, was a psychiatrist, so it was kind of a mental health type program. And he had a program that he was going to present around the country. And apparently it had already been up and running. And he was looking for more people because he was expanding. And it would be something done to businesses and people, kind of a motivational, look at yourself, be well-adjusted kind of program. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the price was. But back then, this is the price in today's dollars would have been, this is yearly salary, would have been well north of $500,000 a year. It would have required me to be away from home approximately 20 days a month. Now, at that time, we didn't have children yet. So children were not in the equation. But my mom and dad were. My siblings were. My friends were. The people I'd come to know and love and spend time with. My softball was. My friend said, do it for 1 year. Just do it for 1 year and put the money aside. I didn't. I turned it down. I did not want to sever the friendships that I'd made pretty much all my life. I was in my 30s. All my life. And it was almost no amount of money could make me do that. I'm glad. I'm very glad that that's the decision I made, obviously. Because I know, had I not made that decision, had I gone with that program, I would not be here today with you. My career would have been sidetracked. And everything that unfolded as it did back then to make it so that I'm here at this point today in my career and life wouldn't have happened. So I just hope and pray God was kind of watching over my footsteps there. Friendships. Older I get, the more I value them. Thank you for joining me here on The Doctor Is In. I'm Dr. Ray Grendy, Monday through Friday. The program, Walk with God, the infinite friendship.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.